Hey guys, welcome to Saiyan Saga. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Goku and Chichi faced a new cosmic threats? Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in Dragon Ball fanfictions. This story is by MiraiDespair. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Sitting in a room in an almost empty house was a humanoid creature. He was on the ground, his black hair floating up slightly. His hands, which were resting on top of his knees, were glowing. In front of him was a book that was opened on a page. The humanoid's head was lowered towards it, but his eyes were closed. The glowing of his hands illuminated the purple markings on his tanned skin. He was completely quiet though and continued sitting there by himself. Through the window next to him, the sun was beginning to shine on him. He kept his eyes shut tightly to try not letting the sun win against him. But it was no use since he ended up peeking open one of his eyes. His hands stopped glowing right after and his hair rested back down again as he grumbled something. He closed the book after and let out an annoyed sigh. He was a bit tired after doing all of that and now planned to take a nap and sleep the rest of the day away. Brother, Chong. Hearing his name, he suddenly woke up more and sat up just as fast. Are you awake? Yeah, I am, Chong called back as he jumped up to his feet, trying to fix his hair and get changed into better clothes. Coming out right now. Be fast about it. Throwing on his pants, he almost fell over going towards the door so he could be heard better. It's really early though, you sure you want to go out now? He paused for a second, most likely to think, but a response came just as fast. Yes, please. Sure then. I'll be out in a second. After letting out a small sigh, he quickly walked over to the book he left out. He stared at it for a second before narrowing his eyes. He kicked it under his bed before going back towards the door and opened it. When he tried walking out, he accidentally kicked something and looked down. Sitting in front of the door was a little boy. His white hair could be seen, and when he looked up, his black bangs showed. He looked up at him with wide eyes. Hey, Reiki. Chong nervously chuckled seeing him and rubbed the back of his head while pointing inside his room. Sorry, I got caught up in something. Reiki tilted his head to the side and raised a brow at him, nodding but looking a bit annoyed. You're always caught up in something. Aha. Really? Yeah. It just feels like you're reading that book you have a lot more often. Do you just like it that much? A bead of sweat went down the side of his cheek and he nodded fast in hopes it would hide it. Well, of course I do. Besides, it's good to read. You have to go back to school soon. Right. Don't be sad about it. Here, let's get going now. We'll walk around and do whatever you want to do for today. All right. He grabbed his wrist and began pulling him forward towards the front door, clearly in a hurry. You have to walk fast though. Got it. They walked through their messy house before reaching the front door. Chong was the one to open it as the sunlight blinded them. Many more of their race were already outside, walking through the path and talking to each other. He was surprised so many were awake to begin with but didn't mind it. All he had to do was make sure his brother was close to him and that would be fine. I want to go to the field, Reiki said while walking fast in front of him, navigating through the crowd just fine. It's never crowded over there. And what do you want to do when we're over there? Chong asked while chuckling but paid attention again when someone almost bumped into him. Don't know. Want to play tag or something like that? No, what would you want to do all the way out there yet? Just hang out with you, I guess. He was almost surprised to hear that, catching up so he was right by his side and trying to raise his voice. Really? We could have done that inside. Yeah, but it's messy there. I'll clean it soon. I've fallen behind on it a lot. He paused for a second and his expression softened as he just shrugged and lowered his head. I just want a chance for you to relax. We might as well do it outside where it's nice. Whatever you say, then. I'll do what you want to do. They soon got out of their village, though they didn't notice some look their way. Chong did feel eyes on them but ignored them, instead gesturing at Reiki to walk a little faster. There was a large open field they were heading towards, the green grass swaying in the wind. It might have been because Reiki mentioned it but Chong started to feel more relaxed. This might have been the first time he got the chance to relax in a while since he was worried about so many other things. In the open field were a bunch of trees but there was one that they went to often. Reiki was the first to go under it, going to climb the tree. Chong did help him up and watched him, letting out a small sigh. There wasn't anyone else around them for a while, so it was the two of them alone together. And they usually were alone, so it wasn't any different than before. Chong, I have a question for you. Reiki hung upside down on the tree, though he was still able to turn his head towards his brother. Chong got curious and sat under the tree with his arms crossed, shrugging. Yeah, go ahead. I'll answer anything. Do people think we're weird? What? What makes you ask that? He paused for a second and suddenly seemed more down, swinging himself up to now sit on the tree branch. I don't know. I feel like everyone always looks at us for some reason. Don't you have any friends? Nobody wants to be friends with me. He thought about it but suddenly scowled at the ground, just shaking his head and quietly groaning. I used to. But they're not too important. You don't always need friends. But still. All the other kids have friends. I don't know. It just feels like everyone doesn't like us, and everyone avoids me. That's their loss, isn't it? If kids don't want to play with you, then they're missing out on how cool you are. Reiki. He let out a long sigh and stared at his brother, furrowing his eyebrows and starting to frown. Is it because we don't have parents? The two of them went quiet for a second. Chong didn't know how to answer for a second and simply gritted his teeth. That was something tough for him to really answer and wondered if he could switch the topic entirely. Their parents have been gone and Chong knew exactly why. Reiki was too young to even know their parents, making Reiki all the more curious. Ah. Well. Chong scratched the side of his cheek, but his younger brother instantly knew that he was trying to think of a lie. I don't want any lies. Just be honest. Reiki raised his voice a little and kept his frown as it slowly turned into a pout. I know they were exiled and everyone else knows that, too. So is that why nobody wants to be near us? I'm not sure. But I don't care if people look down on us. They're just idiots, they shouldn't care about us. We're just fine on our own, right? What were our parents even like? You got to remember them better than I did. Well, they were pretty nice. But that's all I can really say. When they got exiled, I knew that it was just the two of us. So I became committed to taking care of you. I've been trying my best. I know I can't clean around the house and be there for you most of the time, but I want to. Hey, come down here, Reiki. He jumped off the tree branch and sat next to him, still looking a bit upset. Yeah. Am I in trouble for asking that? Of course you're not. Suddenly, he wrapped his arms around him and pulled him closely with a smile. But don't ever be discouraged by something as small as that, all right? You're better than they'll ever be. Really? Yep. You'll be stronger than them one day, and when you are, when that power being hidden is finally released from you, they'll regret not being your friend. No way, you're just lying to me. No, I'm not, I would never lie. He began to ruffle up his hair, leaning so his brother was on the bottom. Hey, hold on. Get off of me. Even though he said that, he was still starting to laugh from it and didn't fight back. Come on. When you're stronger than me, you can push me off then. No. When I'm stronger, I'll protect you. He stopped for a second as they ended up laying on the grass on their sides, looking at each other. All right, you'll protect me and I'll protect you. We'll have each other's backs. Right. I'll protect you from everything, Chong. And so will I. I'm not going to let anything or anyone ever hurt you. Even the Namekians. He paused but firmly nodded with a smile, letting out a happy-sounding sigh. Yep. Even the Namekians. Hey. But. Sitting up slightly, he ended up tackling him down and messing up his hair again. Nothing will protect you from me. Hey. Stop it, he said, and through too, he continued to giggle and play right back. The two continued to play around together in the grass. They rolled around together, with Chong constantly messing up his hair and Reiki not being able to do anything. And as they continued, they didn't realize how time continued to pass them. But it barely mattered to either of them as they continued smiling. Just as fast as they came out there, they ended up falling asleep together. Chong groaned as he slowly opened his eyes, feeling even more exhausted. Ah, whoops. Only then did he realize that he had fallen asleep. Close to his side was Reiki, who seemed like he was fast asleep and not going to wake up anytime soon. That made him smile a little, and now Chong didn't want to move. It was a little darker than it was before, so it made him question how much time passed. And it made him question what happened in the distance. There was smoke rising up. Some of the homes of others were broken down and caught on fire. It sounded almost quiet, but he could hear the screams of others in the distance. He even caught sight of two of their kind trying to run away from something. He tried finding what it was, but the moment he blinked, something went through their chests and caused them to fall down. Chong was horrified at the sight and sat up so fast, it woke up his brother. "Chong, are we going home?" Reiki groggily asked and started rubbing his eyes, blinking them to get away. "No, we can't." Chong stood up and felt tense at the sight of chaos in front of them. "What's happening? Stay right here. I'm going to check now, so don't move." When he finally caught sight of everything, he was also in shock and shook his head. "Wait, no, you can't go there alone. I have to. I don't know what's going on, but if it's something that can hurt you. But let me do something. We can stick together." He grabbed his wrist and tried pulling him back, firmly nodding. "Just please." He paused for a second but snatched back his wrist and started going forward. "No, just stay here. I swear it won't be for long." Though he didn't get a response, he started running either way, but he didn't know that Reiki followed right behind him. The closer Chong got to the village, the more he could see happening. So many were suddenly dropping dead, with holes through their bodies. He stopped by one, almost wanting to help, but chose not to just as fast. The first place he wanted to go towards first was their house to retrieve something he needed. The book. "I just need to grab that real quick." Chong just knew that's what he had to do and then had a small smile. "I'll go back for Reiki and protect him," and his thoughts cut off when his head started to hurt. He stopped where he was, knowing that one of their kind was trying to look for him, and when he turned around, he saw someone in the distance. "Ah!" Reiki made a sick expression at one of the bodies he saw, putting a hand over his mouth. "Reiki!" Chong ran and jumped through the debris and bodies on the ground, reaching him and grabbing his shoulders. "Turn back. You have to. Hurry up." "But with all of this happening, I can't leave you. I don't want you to be alone. Let me do something." "But I'm trying to protect you." "Who's here to protect you then? Go, Reiki." He hesitated, and when he lowered his head, Chong thought he had given up. So backing away at first, Chong began to run forward again. He needed to find the cause of what was happening. Maybe that would stop everything if he stopped it, he thought. And that would keep Reiki safe because it's all he wanted at the moment. The closer he did get, the more he could almost see what or who was causing everything. There were two figures who were flying in the air. Their fingers were pointed out as beams of energy shot from them. These beams went through the bodies of some of the ones trying to run. From what Chong could see, they were clearly amused by everything happening, and that made him even more mad. Whatever they were doing was ruining his time with his brother, and he was ready to do what he needed to be done. But he accidentally made eye contact with one of them. "Look at that." One of them, sounding like a woman, began to chuckle to herself. "Maybe he's mesmerized with us." The other one next to her, sounding completely different, rolled his eyes. "Please, let's just get it over with." "Absolutely not." Chong clenched his fists and made his stance wider as he gritted his teeth. "I'm not going to let you take me out so easily. You're in my way." "Oh, a challenge?" It's clear he's hiding some sort of power. The woman noticed and held her chin with a smirk. "Maybe he could join us." "Hell no. Just stay away from me and my brother." Chong snapped and got ready to fight, only having one thought in his head. "I won't let anyone ruin my life with my brother, because I won't." His thoughts cut off when his head pounded and he turned around. Reiki wasn't that far from him, running towards him. His eyes were full of determination as he kept going towards his older brother, almost not caring for everything else around him. Chong was shocked to see this and opened his mouth to call out to him, until a purple beam of energy went straight through his chest. "What?" He almost sounded confused with the only word he could say, blood coming out from the corner of his mouth. Looking back up at the figures in the sky, one of them just now lowered his finger. It felt like they were mocking him as they smirked. Blood began to come out of the hole that was shot through him. He became lightheaded and could no longer think as he couldn't believe what happened to him. And Reiki couldn't believe it either. He was so close to Chong, yet so far as he stayed frozen where he was. Reiki couldn't move at all and kept staring at him. His hands were shaky and he couldn't think of what to do. Everything around him suddenly froze up as he couldn't hear the noise of houses falling or others around him dying. All he could see in the moment was his brother, who could no longer stand.
And slowly and agonizingly, Chong began to fall backwards.
No. No, wait. No. Reiki finally found the words to say as he ran forward and held out his arms. No, please, brother. Chong. His brother fell in his arms and he ended up falling down with him. The body of Chong felt so heavy to him, but he didn't care. With widened eyes, he tried to wake up his brother, but nothing was working. He didn't know what to do. Chong bleeding out more and not moving. His eyes were closed and his body felt still as Reiki tried figuring out something to do but just couldn't. The color from Chang's hair and face were slowly being lost, becoming more pale and white as the purple markings on his face also lost color. Finally, Reiki began to cry and then started to sob out, screaming after. Nothing felt real to him. And he tried convincing himself that it wasn't real, but it was no use. All of his tears fell onto the now pale face of Chong. Reiki kept his eyes on him, as if he would disappear, and felt like he was going to be sick at the sight. So, what planet are we going to after this one? The flying woman began talking as if to ignore what was happening.
He slowly lifted up his head while tears were streaming down his face. He caught sight of the two figures in the air, but he could barely see them. They were almost too high and his tears also blinded him.
Maybe somewhere called Earth. The other one responded and almost sounded angry for a second. I have some revenge. So do I. Good, we can agree. Right, and let's deal with this last one. Reiki knew they were talking to him and saw how they were getting closer. He got more scared and was ready to leave, but remembered his brother. And even though he didn't want to, he carefully set down Chong. Reiki forced himself to stand up, furrowing his eyebrows and choking on his tears. I have to leave you. But I'll figure out something, I will.
He kept staring at Chong and it only hurt him more.
I promise I will, Chong. And just as the two people were about to shoot him, his entire body glowed before he disappeared. His Kai just spiked up all of a sudden, but now I can't sense him at all.
Vegeta found that suspicious and narrowed his eyes. Why would he lower his Kai so much? ... Koken got stuck in her own thoughts before saying them out loud. Could it have something to do with the fake earthquake?
Raimu nodded and suddenly began thinking of Daikon. He got cut off once they heard a sudden explosion from outside. Extra Kokon took her hand out of her pocket but saw something fall out. Oh.
Goku saw the rubber band on the ground and watched her pick it up. A rubber band.
Of course. I always carry an extra on me. For what? For me or Percy? Why else would I have an extra one? For fun. No, I just didn't think you would carry one for yourself. He rubbed the back of his head and looked away. Or for Percy. Name. Sun Raimu. Hair color. Black. Eye color. Black. Height. 168 centimeters. Age. 15. Appearance. For his age, Raimu is still young looking with big black eyes and fair skin. Like every Saiyan, he has slightly short black hair which is spiked and slightly uneven, similar to Teen Goten's from the end of DBZ but shorter. He wears a short sleeve white shirt and going up halfway on his arm are long black fingerless gloves. Over the shirt is a dark denim blue jacket vest, a hood on it. Around his waist is a belt that holds up his jean shorts that are the same color as his earlier vest. His white socks are just slightly higher and can be seen from the brown boots he wears, his boots slightly worn out. Voice claims English. Shikanoin Haizu, Genshin Impact. Japanese. Atsushi Kagari, Bungo Stray Dogs. Name. Kokon. Palm. Hair color. Dark indigo blue. Eye color. Black. Height. 182 centimeters. Age. 22. Appearance. Her hair is a dark indigo blue and has bangs that slightly cover her eyes. Since her hair is long, almost going down to her ankles, it's all in two pigtails that are to the side. Her eyes are now completely black, though she still has a scar going over her right one. Around her neck is a bandana that is a gold color, which she hardly puts around her face unless she's trying to conceal her identity. She also has on a short black jacket with short sleeves, the right sleeve now being normal. The white gloves she used to wear are now black, but they still go up to her elbow. She wears two gold belts, with one hanging off the side of her hip. That helps hold up her black pants, which are rolled up to show white socks under, and show her black shoes. On her back are two sheets, though only one has a katana in it.
Voice claims English. Caitlin Arcane. Japanese. Ezra Scarlet. Fairy Tale.
Name. Corey briefs hair color, lavender. Eye color, blue. Height, 167 centimeters. Age, 16. Appearance. He takes a little more after his father as his hair is short and messy colored lavender along with having dark blue eyes, similar to Trunks. There are a few faint traces of bruises on his face but they have slightly gone away. He wears a short sleeve white shirt, the sleeves being a little bit big and the shirt being slightly big. Under the shirt is a long sleeve black shirt he wears, the sleeves being under the short white ones and the collar of the black shirt showing through the top. A large brown belt around his waist holds up his long black pants. His pants are big enough to go over his boots but he instead has them tucked into his dark brown boots. Voice claims English. Leonardo Watch, Kekai Sensen. Japanese. Izuku Midoriya, My Hero Academia. Name. Valley Nilla. Hair color, light brown. Eye color, black. Height, 162 centimeters. Age, 15. Appearance. Valley has hair that is light brown in a short low ponytail with her bangs sweeping off to the side. On the side of her head are 4 bow hair clips, the first 2 being white, the third one being brown, and the last one being pink.
She has wide and almost childish-looking eyes that are brown. The outfit she wears is a carmine red button-up shirt, having long sleeves that are slightly bigger around her wrists. Around the collar of her button-up is a white ribbon. A large black belt holds up her light blue jean shorts, having rips around the thigh and knees of them. Her shorts are just enough to short her black tennis shoes.
Voice claims English. Tenko Chabashira, Daganronpa.
Japanese. Chiyutamade, Bang. Dream.
Name. Percy Trey. Hair color, dark red. Eye color, black. Height, 175 centimeters. Age, 21. Appearance. The wolf has dark red hair with bangs that go off to the side of his head and it covers where you would have human ears.
Since his hair is long, it goes halfway down his back, the rest of it is in a low ponytail. Just like Koken, his gold eye is lost and both his eyes are now gray.
Around his neck is a large silver hood with a gold piece in the middle of it.
He wears a silver lab coat, which is now clean and better looking, with a now clean white shirt under it. The sleeves to the coat are rolled up which show gold bracelets and long white gloves that cover the rest of his arms. He wears dark blue pants that are rolled up to his knees along with white socks that cover his legs. He has on black boots and, of course, he has 2 wolf ears and a nice long tail that are both the color of his hair.
Voice claims English. Albedo, Genshin Impact. Japanese. Rui Kamishiro, Project Sakai. Raimu felt slightly shaken up after hearing the explosion. I guess it wasn't just an earthquake.
What could it have been then? An earthquake and an explosion right after? Corey asked, expecting his friend to give him an answer.
Percy's ears slightly lowered but he kept a tall stance in front of his partner. It's clear that the two are related in some way. Raimu thought but then snapped his fingers and instantly became less worried. I got it. Piccolo and Daikon are just training. Yeah, but would they really cause something like this? Goku asked him and only then, the boy didn't have much of an answer. So close to the city, too. Kokon held her chin and slowly nodded, but definitely a possibility. If Piccolo is hiding his Kai, then try sensing Daikon. Valley suggested the idea to him with a smile. I bet we'd be able to sense her, right? Right. Goku liked the idea and he put his fingers back to his temple, closing his eyes but then frowning. I can't sense Daikon either. Daikon. Raimu muttered, and when he attempted to sense her, he couldn't catch on to her signature. What could have happened to her? Corey glanced at him and kicked his shin slightly, only being worried about Daikon. I mean, Daikon and Piccolo, look, I'm worried about both of them. Well. Vegeta stopped talking and ended up looking at Kokon. Looks like you have something to say. Kokon was surprised to hear it but did admit it. I do have a bad feeling about all of this. But I'm only growing more curious and wish to investigate. I mean, Percy is closest to the door. Corey took a large step away from it, so he should go and investigate. I agree. Valley did the same except she went behind him instead. Raimu nodded and stepped back, his hands behind his back. So do I. Good luck, Percy. Be quiet. Percy rolled his eyes at them and looked at his partner. Milady, we should. I suggest we all go see what it is. Kokon cut him off to his surprise. Milady, I don't think it's a good idea. I can't hear you. I'm already walking out. She already went out the door and her voice could barely be heard. He jolted and was quick to follow after her, almost tripping on his own feet. Milady. Goku stared out from where they were and nervously chuckled. Why is he always worried about Kokon? That's just how he is. Bulma shrugged it off but got serious towards all of them. All of you, if you're going to check out what happened, be careful.
I don't know why you're telling us of all people that. Cory chuckled as he began going towards the door.
Valley was right behind them with her own grin. We're always careful. After those two left, Goku gave a thumbs up to Bulma. Don't worry about us, we'll be just fine. I can't believe you on that. Bulma laughed but gave the same gesture in return, but good luck. Raimu and the others then walked out of the Capsule Corp building. When they did, he saw how many people were around and talking to each other. He actually noticed how multiple people did look towards them. Why are they focused on us and not what happened? Raimu wanted to ask out loud but saw the wolf in front of him. Percy tried his best to hide his tail beneath his lab coat and his ears lowered. This is annoying. Kokon was seen by them and she pointed towards the forest, smoke rising up from it. That's where the explosion happened. The earthquake could have caused an explosion. Vegeta assumed so but made it clear he wasn't too sure about it. Cory scratched the side of his cheek while staring at the rising smoke. I really don't think Piccolo and Daikon caused this. Somebody else. Raimu knew that much but then couldn't think. But who would even cause this? Something's definitely wrong. Goku frowned and even took a few steps towards it. Kokon was just a little behind him and looked to be reaching for her katana. This isn't normal at all. What should we do now? Valley asked the others for guidance and an answer. She began flying up in the air and fixed her hair at the same time. We should go and investigate for ourselves if we want answers. I want answers, so I think we should. Goku began flying right next to her. Milady, I think this is a bad idea, Percy quickly said, and though she was flying, he stood next to her. I suggest we leave and let the others deal with this possible mess.
I think we should go. I do want to see what happened. Raimu said, but looking at the wolf, he added right after. You only want to leave because of your ears and tail giving you more attention.
Leave if you want to, Percy. Kokon told him but didn't even look at him to talk. But I'll be figuring out what happened. It could be anything. Or anyone. Percy stared at her but to their surprise, he smiled and sighed. Seems as though I can't stop you. Do as you wish, but proceed with caution, milady.
I will. I'll go, too. Raimu went forward and made sure to think carefully about what he was going to say. Just to make sure Daikon and Piccolo are all right.
I have no objections to that thinking, but why go towards the danger rather than evade it? Percy questioned, clearly still suspicious of what happened. Doesn't matter. You can leave, Percy, if you want. Goku offered but ended up continuing. I'll just go with Kokon and Raimu. He jolted hearing that and began slightly sweating. You, with milady. I can't just let her and Raimu go alone. But, wait, he was about to say more only for those two to just fly off. Crap. Raimu saw how he looked and gestured at the two already flying. What, aren't you going to go, too? Well. Percy accidentally let his ears perk up and his tail came from his lab coat. Mommy. Look. One of the spectating kids pointed at the wolf. He has a wolf and tail. Don't talk to people who wear things like that. Their mom ended up glaring before pulling them away. Both Percy's ears and tail lowered, having a look of defeat. I suggest we follow after them. All right. Valley attempted to muffle her laughter by putting her hands over her mouth. You're not laughing at me. I'm not, She suddenly couldn't help but burst out into laughter and ended up flying away.
Raimu almost laughed, too, but held himself back. Let's just hurry up and follow the others. Vegeta barely flew off the ground but noticed how Percy didn't move. Hurry up, let's go. The forest is far and I wouldn't be able to get there quickly by just running. Percy was mumbling off to himself, though they could hear him.
Look, we're going to fall behind. Just fly instead. Cory suggested and got impatient but saw him slightly laughing. What's so funny? Well, how'd I put this? What, I can't fly. What? Raimu blinked at him slowly and realizing what he said was real, he almost fell over. So that's why you always run.
You're so strong but you can't even fly. We'll leave him behind. They weren't surprised that Vegeta even said that. Just show up whenever you're able to. I wouldn't want to be late for Milady, especially since she's with Goku. Percy jolted and his tail started swaying side to side. Reimu tried thinking fast and decided to say the first thing that came to mind. I have an idea.
What might that be? Vegeta can just carry Percy. It went silent, but then Percy and Vegeta snapped their heads at each other. What?
Corey glared at his friend and put a hand on his hip. Good going.
Reimu felt several sweat drops run down his face and he nervously laughed. It was the first thing I thought of.
He stared at him for a second more before flying off. Good luck, Reimu.
Wait. Corey, don't leave me behind with them. Why would I let this idiot carry me? Percy finally said something and even stepped away from him. I'd rather drop this fool on his head. Vegeta shot back and a spark instantly ignited between the two. Looks as though someone else beat me to it. You act like you've been dropped on your head several times already. Maybe if you would stop barking at me for a second. Crap. Reimu instantly got another idea and didn't think before he spoke. Imagine how mad Kokon would be if I told her we were wasting time because you two were arguing. Percy's ears perked up at it by accident. Milady, mad? Yeah. You know that she already doesn't like you guys arguing as it is. Vegeta. You don't have to beg me. Vegeta snapped and grabbed his wrists, flying in the air. I can't promise I won't drop you.
Finally, let's go. Reimu was glad his idea worked and he flew right after them.
Percy sighed and even his tail and ears lowered. I can't believe I'm being carried by Vegeta of all people. I can't believe I have to carry a dog. Vegeta said right after, an anger mark on both their foreheads. Sorry, I didn't realize you were smart enough to understand what I said. I don't speak in barks. The two began to argue and Reimu put his hands over his ears. I guess these two haven't changed at all. He could even remember how during their truce, the two managed to argue. That memory was slightly amusing to him, but he made sure not to show it on his face. He knew if he was questioned about it, he would only be in an argument with the two. They were flying fast and soon landed in the forest where the others were. The others were slightly on guard but looked to them when they did land. Goku watched Percy be set down by the other Saiyan when they were. I thought you would actually leave. It only took you 6 minutes. Kokon jabbed at them but her voice kept calm.
We would have been faster. Reimu started off and tried to mumble the last part. If these two weren't being annoying and arguing.
You're calling me annoying? Percy and Vegeta glared at him at the same time. Corey ignored the two, mainly out of annoyance, and looked in the direction where the smoke was. Why didn't we land exactly where it was? Because we still don't know what caused it. Goku responded and went behind a tree to peek out and see nobody. Landing right in the middle of possible danger is what gets us killed. Kokon had a hand just barely hovering over the handle of her katana. We should proceed with caution. A sound from a bush made her slightly jump and she gripped onto the handle but didn't pull it out. Did you get scared? Goku was the first to point it out, having seen it.
There's nothing to be scared of. Reimu somewhat came to her defense, though he got nervous. It's probably just an animal.
Better to be safe than sorry. Kokon took out her katana and pointed it towards the bush.
I'll see what it is myself, milady. Percy offered and nobody declined it as he walked over to the bush.
The bush instantly went quiet and he stared down. There were no sounds and when he smelled the air, there was nothing. I don't smell any animals, but I think I smell. Shut up. Someone instantly jumped out and put a hand over his mouth. All of them instantly listened, not talking anymore. Percy was busy trying to get the hand off his mouth but the girl looked around for another moment, like she expected something. Another minute of silence went by with nothing happening. Percy finally pulled her hand off his mouth, his face red out of anger. Why would you do that even? Reimu wanted to ask the same but seeing who it was, he was calm. Crap. Good thing it's just you, Daikon. You guys scared the crap out of me. Daikon snapped at them but seeing Reimu, she seemingly became less tense. I'm glad it's just you guys though. What, were you expecting someone else? Kind of, yeah.
So how about you explain why you covered my mouth? Percy growled at her with his tail twitching. You could have just told me to be quiet. Like you would listen. Vegeta slightly mumbled, but with Percy's ears, he heard.
Daikon only got more annoyed with him and rolled her eyes. Will you just shut up for a second? Before he said more, Kokon covered his mouth this time. What happened? Yeah, Dad said he couldn't sense you or Piccolo. Raimu managed to speak now that his mouth was covered. We had to keep our Kai low and be quiet. Daikon's voice did lower slightly while talking. We were trying to catch it. You're going to have to explain more. Vegeta showed interest in the situation ever so slightly. Just follow me real quick. She went ahead without hearing any answer from them, disappearing into the forest for a second. Valley stared out and slightly went forward to try looking through all the green. Well, do we follow her? I'll follow her. Goku sounded excited and did so, even slightly laughing. Kokon removed her hand and wiped it on her pants while going in the same direction. It could lead to answers.
Percy quickly went behind her and they could hear him say, I won't be leaving you alone with Son Goku.
Then I'll go with them, too. Raimu decided, and once he started walking, the others followed behind him. When Daikon was seen in the distance, she stepped to the side. This is where the smoke came from. Some smoke still rose out of a giant crater. Raimu didn't expect to see a crater of all things, but here he was, staring down into it. Percy slid down into it and inspected it for himself, even smelling around it. So, what caused this? Was it an animal, maybe even an alien? A kid. She put it bluntly, and he did slightly glare at her.
Funny. What actually caused it? A kid did cause it. I just told you.
A kid? Raimu didn't want to doubt his friend, but he was confused by what she was saying. How could some little kid do this? Valley also didn't believe it too much, and she began to laugh, albeit not because of the joke. Maybe you just imagined seeing a kid? I'm being serious. Daikon frowned at the fact that none of them took her seriously, and she put out a hand towards the crater. A little kid landed here and caused it. I don't know how I can prove it. Raimu felt bad and began looking around the area they stood in. I mean, where is the kid now? I'm not sure. It landed there and ran away right after without answering any questions. Piccolo and I went to find him, but now that I think about it, he did look like an alien. I was joking about the alien part. Percy wiped away a sweat drop just before the others could see it, and he rubbed the bridge of his nose. Now that little kid part is sounding more believable to me. We hid our Kai entirely because we didn't know if it could sense us, especially since we couldn't sense it.
That's why I couldn't find your guys' Kai. Goku facepalmed in realization of this. That's when you guys started looking.
Are you all actually believing this? Percy slightly growled out of frustration. I do trust Daikon. Raimu found himself admitting out loud and was slightly embarrassed. She doesn't really have much of a reason to lie. What kind of alien was this kid? Vegeta asked, and the girl tried her best to think about it. Daikon didn't really know herself, so she ended up shrugging. No clue. But it felt like Piccolo knew what it was. At least we have this figured out. Raimu slightly laughed it off and rubbed the back of his neck. We got worried for you and Piccolo. We were obligated to look regardless after the earthquake and explosion. Kokon added after, and her katana was now put back in its sheath. Good you guys are here. You can try to help us look. Daikon decided, just so it wasn't all a waste of time. If there's no other reason to stay. Percy put his hands in the pockets of his lab coat. Why would you be leaving? You can help. None of this is believable. A kid, an alien kid at that. All enough to be fake in my eyes. It's not fake. Do you know what else could have caused the crater? Raimu put that up for him and did frown. I'll be on my way. Don't leave. Goku flew down into the crater and put a hand on his shoulder. Just help us for a bit. I'd rather not. Remove your hand. It wouldn't hurt to assist them in looking. Kokon said, and his head instantly faced her to see her stoic expression. You can't be serious, milady. Yeah, she is. It would be a shame if something happened to her while you were gone. Valley hid a smirk while she lowered and shook her head. Oh well. Just let him go. Clearly, he has better things to do. Raimu joined in with her, and they even shared the same expression. Percy's eyebrow twitched and he bared his sharp canines at them. TCH. You get 5 minutes out of me. Daikon didn't question it too much and shrugged. All right then, let's. Something in the trees and bushes made a noise which alerted all of them. They all faced towards it and Daikon put a finger over her lips to signal them to be quiet. There's no need to look. The person walked out and revealed themselves, having something in their hand. I already found him. Piccolo. And Daikon didn't sound excited when staring at what he held.
Piccolo held what looked like a little kid in his hand. The kid looked strange, having messy hair that was white but had black bangs. There were purple markings on the cheeks of his face, and with the sleeves to his coat rolled up, there were more purple markings covering his arms. His eyes were wide and purple but narrowed down just to glare at them all.
So, it seems you've kidnapped a random kid, Percy said to break the silence around them, looking unamused. It's not just some random kid. Daikon showed how she was ready to fight, even tensing up slightly. It's the alien kid I was talking about. Let go of me. The kid finally spoke and definitely sounded like one, shaking around his arms. Let me go, I haven't done anything wrong. He's loud. I didn't think you were serious. Percy slightly raised a brow, and though still in the crater, he was ready to protect his partner. Let go of me, now, the kid demanded again, only getting more angry. Kokon only took one step forward to see the kid slightly closer, so this little one caused that crater. Cory held his chin with his thumb and pointer finger but shook his head disapprovingly. He doesn't look like much. And he isn't. Piccolo adjusted the grip he had on the kid. I found him trying to hide in a tree. Kokon, surprisingly enough, wasn't at all worried about seeing the kid. At least this wasn't a complete waste of time. It's just a kid. Vegeta crossed his arms and chuckled. He can't do anything. Honestly. Cory leaned in closer and just got a grin on his face. He's just a cute kid, isn't he? Don't call me cute. The kid spat out harshly at him and even made him shiver. Vegeta wasn't threatened by the small kid and he rolled his eyes. What are we going to do with him? You guys won't do anything to me or else. Piccolo and the kid managed to stare each other down. Or else what? After a glare from him, the small kid managed to kick Piccolo's wrist from behind and get free of his grip. He landed on the ground and thought fast, locking eyes with Daikon and running towards her. Daikon attempted to punch him but he dodged easily and tackled her down, then going behind her and putting an arm around her neck. If you guys get near me. The kid looked around and made it clear he hadn't thought it through but shakily spoke, I'll kill her. Impressive and threatening. Raimu muttered and was ready to fight in a way but also didn't put up his fists. Don't try anything. Daikon tried moving his arm but he only tightened it around her neck, slightly choking her. What? The kid glared at the others and looked slightly shaky. Who are you guys? And what planet is this? Extra, do you mind if I ask you something? Cory faced up towards the wolf looking down at his clipboard. Percy's ears perked up and he looked down with a smile. Why not? What seems to be the issue? You're strong and all but honestly. Why aren't you able to fly like Kokon? Were you never taught how to or something? You're supposed to keep calm while flying, correct? Yeah, I was taught that. He shrugged and ended up looking back at his clipboard. There has just never been a moment in my life where I am truly calm. Name. Daikon Rady hair color. Sage green eye color. Black. Height. 167 centimeters. Age. 16. Appearance. The young girl has sage green hair that is all down in a low ponytail, her bangs going to the side and behind her ear. Her eyes are almost pitch black and on her cheek is a small scar. There is a bandage on the side of her cheek and a patch on her other one. For her outfit, she wears a sleeveless brown jacket vest that stops halfway down her torso. On her arms are bandages from training that go up to her shoulder, but on the left the bandages only cover her wrist. Under the jacket she wears a black sleeveless shirt with a black belt to match with it. She has long blue jeans that are cuffed at her ankles with the left side of it being ripped and the right side being more dirty. She then wears black laced shoes which are slightly ripped and ragged. Voice claims English. Ryuko Matoi, Kill la Kill, Japanese. Homura Akemi, Madoka Magica. The entire group stared towards the mysterious kid, who had Daikon. He made it clear that he wasn't joking around with the way he kept his serious expression. He moved his arm to make sure it was tight around her neck. Don't come near me. Get off Daikon. Please. Reimu's ears ended up turning red with how close the kid was to her, being lucky nobody took notice. Cory wasn't really worried, only being more suspicious. Why would he ask what planet he's on though? He's just a kid. Kokon rolled her eyes and looked down at the boy. And he should be aware it's not Halloween. Raimu wanted to laugh at her comment but didn't, instead looking at her confusingly. Yeah, but didn't you see him just get away from Piccolo like that?
The kid put out his hand again, though his arm was shown to be shaky and it was the one thing they could all see. Don't try anything with me.
What, are you just going to headbutt me? He slightly joked around but did understand it wasn't the time to. Don't. Piccolo said to him simply and crossed his arms. Be quiet for a second and think before you speak. Cory thought about it and suddenly seemed just fine. No worries, actually. He only got free from Piccolo because he was distracted, right? Well, listen to me and... He began walking towards the kid and his friend. I got this, don't worry. I won't hurt the kid too badly. Wait a second. The kid clearly got scared and gritted his teeth. I told you guys to stay back. Cory stared at him before the kid ended up pushing him back with a sudden shockwave through his hand. The lavender-haired ended up hitting the tree behind him, landing on the ground. Leaves and sticks fell in his hair as Cory picked one out and tossed it aside. Ow, ow. Cory. Valley ran over and kneeled down next to him, helping him get the leaves and small sticks out of his hair. How did he do that? I did it because I already warned you guys. The kid kept his guard up and was clearly tense. But your friend clearly didn't listen. Maybe you should all open your ears.
Piccolo put out his arm as a gesture to the others to stop them from doing anything else. None of you try to fight Reiki.
Why would we fight a kid? Kokon questioned and had a glare to go with it. It's a kid. He doesn't look like much. Let's take things a different approach. Percy put out his hands and put up the calmest smile he could. So, kid. Don't call me a kid. He was instantly snapped back at by the kid. Right. How about telling us your name and where you came from exactly?
It's none of your business. I never promised to give you any right answers. He stuck out his tongue and used his other hand to pull under his eye.
This is getting annoying. Daikon's hand began to twitch and she slowly raised it.
She instantly put her hand in front of the boy's face but her wrist was grabbed and she got thrown down. Daikon frowned and attempted to swing at him only for her to be pushed back by the same shockwave force.
She ended up landing in front of the others. Ow, crap. Daikon. Raimu ran over to her the moment he could, kneeling down. Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm just fine. Piccolo gave a look towards her and spat out, this is why you should all listen to me.
And none of you have listened to me or answered me. The kid took a single step back and clenched his fists. Who are you guys and what planet is this?
This is Earth, anyone would know that. Percy ended up answering the question and raised a brow. So I assume he really isn't from here.
That was obvious enough. Goku nodded while scratching the side of his cheek. If I really am on Earth. The kid started but then pointed towards one of them. Then why is he here? Piccolo stared at the finger being pointed at him and narrowed his eyes. I don't understand what you're asking. Goku looked back and forth between the two with wide eyes. Whoa, do you guys know each other? I don't know him specifically, though, he looks familiar in a sense. I never said I did know this guy. The kid added after but also seemed to be shrinking back. Let's all calm down. Percy kept calm but made the mistake of going towards the kid. I assume this is all some big misunderstanding.
Stay back. Once again, he used the same technique to push back Percy towards Kokon.
Kokon managed to catch her partner by the collar of his lab coat and set him down. Let's begin to be more careful. Sorry you had to catch me, milady. Percy dusted himself off but began growling. If it weren't for this brat. Shut up already you. The kid paused for a second and said after, Dog. Let's just let him run off. Vegeta decided after but had to hide his laughter from them. Several anger marks could be seen on his cheeks. Correct. This little one is annoying. Great. Piccolo flew over and grabbed both the kid's wrists before he could do anything. He shouldn't be on Earth to begin with, so I'll ensure he goes back to his planet. Let go of me. The kid couldn't get his wrists out and then raised his voice. Dang it. Let go of me, you stupid Namekian. Huh. It was enough to catch the attention of Goku and he slightly furrowed his eyebrows. How do you know what Namekians are? I can recognize their dumb faces anywhere. Kokon reached for her katana and put a grip on it, very questionable. Percy put a hand on her elbow to slightly lower it. Patience, milady. I'll find a way to get him back to his planet. Piccolo tightened the grip on his wrists with no remorse. Raimu saw it and somewhat felt pity, looking at the kid. Where are you actually from? The kid ended up staring back at him for much longer, his eyes just barely widening before he forced himself to look away. Why? Why should I tell you guys? I don't know. Because the others don't really trust you? How can I trust people like you guys? It won't matter when you're back on your own planet. Piccolo showed that he was just about to fly away. Do your worst. I will. He managed to move himself slightly to where he could kick Piccolo in the stomach. Piccolo's grip loosened ever so slightly, and though he grabbed the kid again, he put out his hand. He managed to slightly force Piccolo back and he hit the ground. Stumbling up to his feet, he was about to run. He took a single second just to look at Raimu before disappearing into the forest. Are we chasing after him? Kokon asked, lowering down her arm that had held her katana. I don't think we should. Percy lowered down his own arm just to cross them, his ears lowered. Raimu knew why he was mad but ignored it, trying to think for himself. I don't think he's a problem. He only pushed back Cory and Percy out of defense, right? Yeah, but Cory still could have been hurt. Valley sounded slightly scared, picking out the last things from Cory's hair. We have to go and find him. Piccolo instantly demanded of them all, acting serious again. Raimu didn't understand why he changed so suddenly, slightly frowning, but why? He could become a problem if we don't stop him now. He was a problem from the start. Percy's tail flickered uneasily and he even rolled his eyes enough for them to see. It won't take long. Goku put 2 fingers to his temple with a smile. I'll get him back fast. Are you an idiot? Daikon slightly hit his arm for him to put it down. He doesn't have any Kai, so we can't sense him. And I guess that means he can't sense us either. That only makes it more difficult. Kokon sighed and ended up leaning onto Percy. How will we go about this? I doubt it'll do anything if we're all together. Vegeta got an idea and shared it out, though keeping a stoic expression. We can go in groups of 2, though one of us will be alone. Perfect. Then let me look alone. Cory shot his hand into the air and even while still being on the ground, he was seen. Valley almost had to put her hands over her ears since she was next to him. Calm down. Can you even be trusted alone? Raimu questioned out loud and was already nervous for his friend. And Kokon wanted to be alone, didn't you? Please, Kokon. Cory was suddenly in front of her and clapped his hands together. I want to be alone. Kokon's eye twitched looking at him and she pushed him back slightly. Fine. Just make sure you're safe while you do look. Goku told him right after and didn't mind it. Will do. Cory's feet began leaving the ground, telling them he was about to go. Don't follow his direct path. Piccolo told him before he had the chance. What? Why? It's the way he went. He could have taken a different path to throw us off. Better to be safe than sorry. When we all go to look, we can meet back here. Goku was thinking of a time and said the first that came to mind, in 30 minutes. Yes, sir. Cory did a quick salute and flew off in the kid's direction before turning left and flying from there. Knowing they had to be in pairs, Percy smiled at his partner. So, milady. Son Goku. Kokon stopped leaning on him and began flying. You'll be joining me. Goku was confused but slowly nodded and went by her side. All right then? To you all, don't be idiotic about anything. With disappointment, Percy watched them fly away. How unfortunate. Daikon began to pull on the cape of her mentor. Hey, let's hurry up and go. Now, please. Right. Piccolo got the hint, but before they left, he could be seen smirking. I wouldn't want to be paired with Vegeta either. You damn. Vegeta couldn't finish since the 2 were already gone. TCH. Percy slowly turned his head to Raimu. Ah, Raimu. Raimu took a step back and his eyes turned white. I get we're friends and all, but I don't want to be paired with Percy or Vegeta. He put up a crooked smile the best he could. Would you? Sorry, Raimu and I are already partners. Valley was next to him and threw an arm over his shoulder. Right, Raimu? Raimu couldn't be any more grateful and didn't hide the stars in his eyes. Yeah, we are. Percy blinked several times and began to sweat. Are You too sure? 100%. Valley put it so bluntly that it stabbed right through him. Vegeta crossed his arms and cursed several things before speaking up. So now I'm paired up with the dog. Percy started growling at that and holding up his fist, an anger mark on the back of it. If I'm such a dog, how about I bite you and beat you down? Like a dog could do that. All you would do is bark at me. Like how you're barking at me right now. I can hardly understand a word you say. Can you guys fight later? Valley split the two apart by going in between them and pushing them back. We still have to find the kid. Right. Vegeta coughed into his fist but added a comment. Go, dog, and smell out where the kid is. I won't argue anymore since Milady would be mad to know I did. Percy began smelling the air and took a few steps in the same direction the kid went. He sure went this way. Yeah, Raimu stopped talking and suddenly jolted. Wait, doesn't that? He went towards the city. He went towards the city. Ah. That's an even better reason for us to hurry up. Valley grabbed his shoulders and began shaking him. He could do something to the city. Hold on. Raimu forced her to stop and his eyes were swirling from getting dizzy. He's just a kid, remember? Yeah, but we don't even know his plans or why he's here in the first place. Isn't that suspicious enough? Then we can all go together to the city and split up around there. Vegeta suggested an idea that worked out for them. It'll be easier if we all look around the city. The first good idea you've had. Percy began walking away from them with a small smile. You all can fly to the city. I'll stay on foot and follow the same way the best I can just in case he's still hiding here. Always one step ahead, never a step behind, then good luck. He gave a small wave and they watched him run off into the forest. They could hear him running until, with the farther he could, it soon got silent. Is it just me or are they getting along more? Valley lowered her voice but it wasn't enough to not be heard. Raimu nodded and even began smirking slightly. They are. They're actually starting to act like friends. I guess they do like each other. Be quiet. Vegeta began flying ahead and didn't wait for them, going towards the city. Raimu and Valley laughed with each other but began flying towards the city. Since it wasn't too far, they were able to get there fast. He could see that the city looked just fine. There were no signs of any attacks or anyone being attacked. Up ahead, he watched Vegeta go into the city but in a different direction so they could be split up. The other two landed in an area where they weren't seen by people. Raimu walked out slightly but there was nothing wrong. The city looks fine, so far. But still, where could he be hiding? Valley questioned and began twiddling her fingers. Here, let's split up. You look this way and I'll look this way. He pointed to the directions while talking. We can meet back in a little under 10 minutes, alright? Got it. Just remember not to try fighting that kid on your own. Yeah, I won't, Valley. He waved off his friend and watched her begin running where she was told to look. After she was out of sight, he turned around and began walking. Don't fight the kid. Why would I fight a kid? He harshly mumbled under his breath and put his hands in his pockets. Since the kid had a weird appearance, he knew he would stand out but he couldn't see him anywhere. There were many other citizens walking by him, some having kids. He carefully inspected the kids as he walked by but none of them were the one he was looking for. He realized that he underestimated how hard the search for a kid would be. He groaned out loud at that but let out a sigh. Remembering back a little bit before, he saw how the kid was staring at him strangely. There was no way of him knowing why the kid was doing so and he knew he wouldn't get an answer but something was off to him. The kid was strange but like how he reminded the others, he was just a kid. He began questioning to himself what he would exactly do after he found the kid. Man, that little kid looked weird. A group of boys walked by him and he stopped. Yeah, why does he think it's Halloween? A different boy laughed and the group of three all laughed together. He shouldn't be rude if he's going to look so weird. Let's hope his little mommy fixes up how he looks. Excuse me? Raimu ran over before they got any farther from him and got embarrassed having to talk to them. Little kid? Yeah. Some weird-looking little kid ran by us being rude and stuff. What did he look like? The group glanced at each other before one of the boys spoke. Weird marks on his face and he had white hair but the front of it was black. Where did he run off to? Towards that alleyway over there I'm pretty sure. Thank you. He hurriedly dipped his head before rushing off in that same direction. That was weird. He stopped for a second and heard the boys laughing. It was obvious they were still talking about the kid. Making sure nobody around him was looking, he shot a Kai blast at one of their feet and watched him trip over. He wasn't there long enough to see what happened since he started running again. Stopping in front of the alleyway he was pointed towards, he looked inside. No signs of anyone being there, but he reluctantly walked in regardless. He didn't know where the kid could be since there was nowhere to hide in this alleyway. He accidentally ended up jumping when hearing a sound for a moment. His eyes went towards the large garbage can and the same sound came from it. Raimu walked over to it and leaned against the wall next to it, kicking the side of it. "Come on, I know you're in there." A moment of silence worried him, but the top ended up slightly opening and the kid peeked out. It's you again." "Yeah, I suggest you just hurry up and get out of there." "Why are you telling me that? You're in a garbage can. You're going to smell like garbage and then nobody will want to be near you because of that." The kid slightly went back down into the garbage can after hearing that. "Fine by me, because then you guys won't want to come after me."
"Then I'll do it." Opening the lid all the way, he quickly grabbed the kid, but he kept moving around. "Hold on.
"Let go of me already." He managed to get free and backed away. "Go away and just leave me alone. I can't take you seriously with that on your head." Seeing the banana peel, he threw it off to the side effortlessly. "Whatever, what do you guys want with me? You smell like garbage now. That doesn't answer my question." He almost laughed at the banana peel but kept himself somewhat stoic. "Yeah, but you won't answer any of ours either."
But he ended up grabbing his wrist and attempted to pull him. "Come on, I'll take you back to the others and we can clear everything up, all right?"
"No." The kid tried getting his wrist free and clearly struggled, even looking tired when looked at closer. "Get away from me. Let go. You and that stupid Namekian will kill me." "Kill you? You're with them, so get away." That ended up confusing Raimu. He stared at the kid again while he kept trying to pull away. The kid stared back at him, his eyes holding a slightly softer look while still looking defensive and almost even scared. "Them." Raimu repeated after and accidentally gripped his wrist tighter. "Wait, what?" "I knew it." The kid slightly winced but showed no sign of giving up yet. "I knew that you and that stupid Namekian and the rest of those guys were with them from the start." "Hold on. Who are you talking about?" Looking up at him with wide purple eyes, the kid suddenly had a look of anger and fear. "Don't act like you don't know. I know you guys are with the Black Star Clan. Extra. Why didn't you want to be with Percy?" Goku asked as the two of them flew together. "You guys are partners." "Why are you asking?" Kokon was reluctant to answer the question, her eyebrows furrowing. "You guys have always stuck together, so I thought you two would search together. And you chose me? Why me?" "I didn't want Vegeta with me. Raimu and the others are annoying, and Percy." "What about him?" He slowly got eager to hear an answer, flying slightly closer to her. Kokon went quiet, and for the rest of their search, Goku never got an answer from her. "The Black Star Clan." Raimu repeated after hearing that, the words tasting bitter in his mouth. But he couldn't help but stare as the kid kept struggling against him. One of the things about the clan was that they were well hidden. How the kid knew about them was beyond him, especially since they had already defeated Mahi months ago. "Let go of me." The kid slightly slipped on his feet when trying to pull away. "You're just as annoying as your other friends." "Hold on, how do you know about the clan?" Raimu asked, pulling him forward only to be pulled back again. "Proves my point that you guys are stupid. You guys can't even understand that other people know about the clan. Please answer me. This is really important. How do you know about the clan?" "I'm not answering your stupid question. Please. Look, even I barely knew the clan was a thing because they were well hidden. They were supposed to be hidden. How do you know about them?" Seeing the look in his eyes, the kid suddenly began to calm down slightly. You're not with the clan, are you?" "We all aren't. Even if we were, I bet the clan would have killed you by now. Are you calm enough to answer questions now?" But he began trying to pull away again, but not as hard. "You'll get your other friends on me and I still can't trust any of you."
"I swear I can be trusted." His grip just barely loosened up on his wrist. "If I was in the clan, I bet I would have gotten other clan members to help me or attack you, you know."
"What are your connections with the clan?" "We fought against 2. Technically 4 of their members a few months back, but that's been done with since then." Then why did you follow me? All of us are looking for you right now. Piccolo told us too, since he said that you could be a problem. He trailed off and ended up shaking his head. Either way, we have this cleared up so I can take you back to the others. The kid looked up at him with trusting eyes that shone for only a second. Are you friends with the Namekian? Yeah, I am. With the grip around his wrist loosened, he pulled back his arm and felt at his wrist. Then I'm going to leave. He began turning around but was instead greeted by the dead end of the alleyway. Seeing this, he turned back around but Reimu was in his way, blocking the outside. A sweat drop ran down the back of his head. Can you get out without me in your way? Reimu finally asked him and noticed how he jolted slightly. The kid moved his head all around to try finding another way and slightly slouched forward when he couldn't. No, not really. Look, I'm trustworthy, I can promise you that. I'm not going to fight you, especially since you're a kid. If you're so trustworthy, what's your name? You haven't even told me that. You never asked for it, kid. Tell me your name. Sorry. He knew that if he wanted to get anywhere with this kid, he had to show he really was trustworthy. I'm Son Reimu, alright. Son Reimu, how about telling me your name so I can call you something? My name. His shoulders slightly went up. Yeah, unless you forgot it or something. I didn't forget my name, like I ever could. The kid snapped at him and fixing his black bangs, he quickly spoke, my name is Reiki. Reiki, alright. Then nice to meet you. He held out his hand carefully, Reiki. He stared at his hand for a second. Reiki walked all around him while looking at his hand, only confusing the other boy. The kid soon ended up taking his hand and slowly shook it. Reiki took his hand back just as fast and slightly looked down. Am I going to be taken back to the Namekian? With how far he was, Reimu knew he couldn't and shook his head. No, I guess I'm not. Fine then. So for now, we can. He trailed off when he suddenly sensed someone getting near them. Crap. He looked out towards the alleyway and raised a brow. Hey, what's wrong? Hold on. He grabbed the kid and put them both behind the garbage can, putting a hand over his mouth. He moved down his hand for a second to talk. What are you? Putting his hand back over his mouth, he shushed him. If you don't want to be found and taken to the others, be quiet. Reiki seemingly complied and stopped struggling. Slightly peeking out from behind the garbage can, Reimu looked to the outside of the alleyway. Someone stood out there and he forced himself back. Hey, Reimu. Valley stood out and called his name but didn't get a response. What the heck? I thought I sensed him over here. I need to start being more careful with my Kai. Reimu swore to himself and kept the kid back so he wouldn't accidentally look out. Reiki slowly put his hand out and faced it towards the outside. I'll deal with her myself. He quickly pushed his arm back down and shook his head. Be quiet. Valley scratched the side of her cheek and groaned. I swear I sense him over here. She began walking away but she was still heard by them. Reimu. Hey, Reimu, come on. Quote. Reiki, knowing that the girl was now away from them, ended up licking his hand to get it off. Ew. Reimu pulled away his hand fast and wiped it on his pants, sticking out his tongue in disgust. Wiping off his mouth, he moved himself away from him. You didn't have to do all that. And you didn't have to do that. Either way, Valley was with me, remember? If she found us, you would have been taken back to the others. Yeah, sure. Quote. Right, I want to get out of here now. He got to his feet and wiped off his butt. Everything is too unfamiliar. And I don't want to get lost and run into that Namekian. Got it. Picking up the kid, his feet slowly began leaving the ground. I'll get us out of here and I'll hide you until we figure out something. He flew up in the air and was glad they were in the alleyway since he wasn't seen. Reiki ended up moving his body closer to him, looking at the ground. Reimu began flying away from the city and back towards the forest. Reiki clutched onto the boy's clothes. How are you guys able to fly? Reimu didn't mind it and adjusted to make sure he had a good hold on him. I assumed that you knew how. No, I can't do that, but that's how you guys found me even faster. It sure is. Though, credit to you since you were almost hard to find. He showed he was clearly scared of the height but Reimu decided not to mention it.
He made sure that his Kai was slightly lowered and didn't sense anyone he knew near them. That was a good thing since he didn't want to get into arguments or fights because of Reiki. The last thing he wanted to do was exactly that. Man, Reimu came to a realization and began sweating. Where am I going to hide you? Reiki slightly jolted and a big sweat drop ran down the back of his head. You don't even have an idea.
Just let me think. I didn't really expect things to turn out like this for us.
Fair enough, I guess, but you should still always think one step ahead. Thanks for the wonderful advice, he sarcastically said and closed his eyes for a moment. Well, I can't hide you at my house. The last thing I want is for Mom and Godin to see you.
There was something he saw behind him and moved an arm to point. Hey, what's that following us? Or, who are they?
Following us. He began flying backwards and his eyes widened. Following right behind them was both Piccolo and Daikon. They flew fast and it almost looked like Piccolo had a chance of catching them entirely. It's the Namekian. Reiki realized it and started moving around in his arms. I knew it. This was all a trick. You tricked me.
No, wait. I didn't trick you. Calm down. Reimu tried his best to keep the kid in his arms. I didn't even realize we were being followed until you pointed it out. I was tricked. Get away from me already. Calm down, please. He began slightly flying lower and going faster. How long have they been following us? Doesn't matter, I have to hide.
He instantly went into the forest, dodging between other bushes and the trees. Just barely glancing behind him, he still saw the other two following him. This only annoyed him more, even if Daikon was with Piccolo.
He made sure to try protecting the kid's head while flying through. I really need to work on hiding my Kai entirely. Kai? Reiki's head was brought closer to his body.
It's something that helps us find others. You don't have any, so that didn't help with finding you. The Namekian is following us because I'm with you. Exactly. Going off to the side, he flew somewhat far before stopping behind a tree. He sat down and kept Reiki down with him, furrowing his eyebrows. Both were able to feel the wind of Piccolo and Daikon flying right past them. It did slightly scare Reimu, but he kept calm the best he could. He knew that it would have been better if he could stop and talk to them, but it wasn't an option. From the way Reiki and Piccolo acted towards each other, it was clear they didn't get along. A fight wasn't really an option Reimu wanted, and he even feared the two would attempt to kill each other. He wondered what he could do and was taking in Reiki's advice of thinking ahead. That stupid Namekian, Reiki hissed under his breath while they stayed behind the tree. Of course he'd be following us. Let's wait a little more. Reimu slightly peeked out before hiding his head again. Just to make sure they're actually gone. Why are you still holding on to me? We're on the ground, let me sit down. It's to make sure you don't run away. That's the last thing we need, especially since they're still looking for you. Fine. What's wrong with you and Piccolo though? You guys have never met before, but you guys hate each other. Piccolo. He remembered he didn't know the other names and corrected himself. I mean, the Namekian. His name is Piccolo. Don't ask questions you don't need answers to. It's pointless. He ended up standing up, almost falling over though. Hey, what are you doing? Don't tell me you're running away. I'm not. To his surprise, he put out his hand. Get up. Huh. He reluctantly took his hand and was pulled up. What are you doing? Let's go. Go where? We're supposed to hide. I'm taking us off the planet. Then we won't be found. Off planet, he exclaimed and almost didn't believe it. Why would you take me off the planet though? We don't have a lot of time, and you remind me of someone. He lowered his eyes and clenched his fists. Something is coming towards Earth, and I'll take us far away from what's going to happen. What's going to happen to Earth? They're coming in. If you're going to try hiding from us. Piccolo came from one of the trees with a glare. Then try talking quieter. Easier than I thought. Of course, Daikon was right next to him but did seem more hesitant. Reiki instantly got scared and put out his hands. Leave me alone already. We already found you, so don't try fighting against it. I won't mind fighting you, should it come down to it. Piccolo stood tall and made it clear he would go through with the threat. Thank you, Reimu, for. Sorry, but, Reimu cut him off and moved himself slightly in front of Reiki. I won't let you guys get close. Just give me a chance to explain. There is nothing to explain. There is, he isn't dangerous. Don't worry about me, Reimu. Reiki moved him off to the side slightly. I'm willing to fight the Namekian. Fighting isn't going to solve anything though. Reimu, why are you defending him? Daikon asked and showed genuine concern in her eyes.
I was told something important. We can... Don't tell them anything. Reiki sounded mad and furrowed his eyebrows. They won't understand anything. I'll deal with them and then we'll leave the planet.
Leave the planet. Daikon instantly stood up more and narrowed her eyes. What is he talking about? I see where this is going. Piccolo began to walk towards the kid. Just hand over Reiki. Get away. Reiki ended up putting out his arms and pushed him back using the shockwave force from before. Piccolo didn't hit the tree since, although pushed back, he stayed on his feet. He launched himself back towards the kid but Reiki instead kicked at his side, sending him towards a tree. Piccolo managed to stop himself by flying and ended up throwing a Kai blast towards Reiki. Seeing this, Reimu quickly ran over and picked up the kid, moving them both out of the way. The blast just barely missed them as it hit the tree behind them. Reiki forced himself out of his arms and put out his hands, using his shockwave force to push Piccolo back. It was clearly much stronger than before since Piccolo almost fell over because of it. The reason he didn't was because Daikon had caught him and pushed him back to his feet. While those two went back to fighting, Daikon instead looked at Reimu with a saddened expression. You're better than this, Reimu. Reimu only looked surprised to hear that for so long, slightly furrowing his eyebrows. So are you. I'm sorry. She clenched her fists but backed away from the current fight. Piccolo flew back at the kid and attempted to punch him, throwing his arm forward. The kid managed to use his arm to block it but Reiki winced in pain from it. They ended up staring each other in the eyes for only a second more. The Namekian ended up grabbing the top of his hair and threw him into the tree. Reiki hit it but rolled to the side just in time to dodge a Kai blast that went towards him. Reiki struggled to get up, even falling back down. TCH. So you can't use Kai blasts like I assumed. Piccolo ended up standing just a little away from him. No wonder it was so easy. I'm fine. He showed how out of breath he was and frowned. I don't need some dumb technique like that to win against you. Whatever you say. Reimu stared at the kid and could read his face entirely. Yeah, but it's a good thing I have what we need to win. Reiki looked over to him in confusion for a second. Reimu ended up running over and grabbed the kid, then flying low to the ground. Legs. Let's hurry up and go already. I'll go farther this time. Daikon showed reluctance watching them fly off. Are we going after them?
The kid is dangerous. This is for the sake of the planet. Piccolo told her and flew off in pursuit of them, the girl following behind him.
Take me back. Reiki managed to talk normally but still seemed out of breath. I swear I can beat that Namekian. Just, get me back. Reimu held him close and made sure to dodge the trees and other bushes. Hey, come on, what's wrong? You guys weren't even fighting for that long. I'm just a little tired, that's it. You guys didn't fight for long. He heard something in the trees next to him and turned his head. Piccolo flew right next to them and Reimu wasn't fast enough to do anything. He ended up being kicked off to the side to the ground. Even when he did hit the ground, he made sure to protect Reiki the best he could.
Reiki saw this and slightly sat up first, seeing Piccolo. You, stupid. What? Stupid Namekian. Piccolo finished for him and landed in front of him. No matter how many times you say that, it won't change anything. I hate you and that girl with you. Don't hate the girl. Reimu muttered under his breath and shook out his head to shake away the swirls in his eyes. Come on, we can all talk this out. Daikon glared towards the kid, crossing her arms. The feeling is about to be mutual. Surrender now, kid. Piccolo looked calm enough but his tone sounded hard. You don't have to make this harder than it already is. Reiki only got more defensive from it and tried pulling up Reimu. Come on, let's go already, Reimu. We'll leave the planet together. Piccolo put out his hand towards him, a Kai blast beginning to charge up. You can move, Reimu. I'm only doing this to knock the kid out. Raimu didn't want to listen and got on one knee. Why are you doing this?
I'm doing it to protect the planet. This kid is no good from what I know. I won't be killing him, just taking him off the planet myself.
Raimu. Daikon slightly softened her expression towards him with her hand slightly reaching out before she forced it down. Just move for now, please.
Raimu read her so easily but decided against it. Sorry, Daikon. Piccolo ended up shooting the blast regardless and Raimu got his arms ready to block it. He then watched someone run and stand in front of him. She quickly grabbed her katana and used it to block the blast, throwing it off to the side and watching it hit the tree.
It's the lady from before. Reiki muttered under his breath and got closer to the other boy. Raimu instead smiled and was more glad to see her. Kokon. Kokon twirled around her katana before pointing it towards the other two. Seems like I came here on time. Piccolo saw how she pointed her katana at him but didn't back down. Are you here to defend these two? I wouldn't be here for any other reason, would I? Are we going to fight? I won't. She swiftly put her katana back in its sheath and moved some of her hair behind her ear. We have to leave now, but I appreciate the offer. We should fight some other time. Goku came out from behind a tree and smiled. Are we ready to go now? We can take the alien kid with us. It's him from earlier. Reiki had a completely deadpan expression towards him when seeing him.
Raimu ignored the comment and picked him up, going by his dad quickly. Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome. Kokon went over and put a hand on Goku's shoulder, slightly leaning on him. That's the least I could get for assisting you too. Don't worry, Kokon. You were helpful. Thanks for helping, Goku quickly said with a wide grin and stars around him. Thanks. Daikon stared at Raimu and slightly shrunk back when they did look each other in the eyes. Raimu blinked once and gave a weak smile, having his hand on his dad. I'll be fine, Daikon.
He left her with those words as the four of them disappeared.
Extra, hey, look at the little kid. Reiki froze dead in his place when he heard a teen yell at him. His hair is weird. Another commented right after, starting to laugh. Who let you do that? It's not even Halloween yet, so why is he all dressed up? Halloween. Reiki thought to himself, giving off a confused but annoyed look. Go and run off somewhere else. Take your Halloween costume with you. The people on this planet are crazy, but I still need to find a hiding place. Name. Reiki hair color. White with black bangs. Eye color, dark purple. Height. 147 centimeters. Age. As a little kid. Appearance. The small boy has very short cut and messy hair, all of it being white except for his black bangs that are sweeping off to the side. He has small yet pointy ears, having several golden piercings on left ear and having none on his right. His skin is very tanned with two dark purple markings on his cheeks going upwards towards his wide dark purple eyes with no pupils. He wears a large black coat that's very big and reaches down to his ankles. The big sleeves of them are rolled up and show his arms being littered with the same purple markings that are on his face. Under his coat is a dirty white shirt that covers the top of his pants. He wears short black pants that are slightly big but manage to fit him, then having untitled purple boots.
Voice claims. English. Kalua Zoldyck, Hunter x Hunter. Japanese. Elementary School Akito Shinonon, Project Sakai. Koken stood in the forest by herself and kept her eyes closed. She suddenly pitted around and reached behind her back. Grabbing the handles of her katanas, she pulled both of them and pointed them out. Then she only held onto one and her other hand was grabbed around nothing. A sweat drop ran down the side of her head and her eyebrow twitched. Damn it, I forgot Android 1 broke my other one, how annoying. Percy suddenly shivered and looked around the gravity room quickly. Quote. Percy, what's wrong? Bulma asked him when noticing, raising a brow. I sensed something wrong with Milady. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and now we will see you in the next video.